and this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio!
Do you or someone you know suffer from poor circulation, shortness of breath, or chest pains? Are you looking for a more natural solution to help overcome these problems? People tell us that after just a few months taking Extendivite, their doctors have noticed unexplainable improvements in their overall health. For more information, visit heartdrop.com or call 1-877-928-8822.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
And tell them Nighthawk sent you, because if you call this number and tell them Nighthawk sent you, you'll get $5 off your first order at extendivite.com. Thank you. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Sacred Matrix, a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio at revolution.radio. And I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin, with our co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Producer is Thomas Becker, and our very special guest today returning is Dan Cooper. And we are going to continue our discussion about the interplanetary, what's it called? I took a nap. I want to call it, what is it called? I can't read my notes. Alrighty. Sorry. Sash, what's it called? The Interplanetary...
ICC. ICC.
Corporate Conglomerate. There we go. See, I can't take a nap before a show. My brain takes a while to kick in. Anyway, so I don't have the page up today. I'm so bad today. Listeners, I took a nap. I was got up at 5. And I'm going to get that up by the end of the show. I'm working on it. And let's see. There's a bio. As soon as I get it up, it'll be on Aquarian Radio. You can read about Dan. And he is an inventor, and he's going to bring some new, wonderful free energy systems to the world. Okay, Sasha, you want to say anything before we bring on Dan? Sasha, over to you.
Anything. She
say
asked me
anything,
if I
Sasha.
say anything, so anything.
Yes,
hey, Dan, I'm really glad to hear you learn some more. Okay, let's go. What do you got to tell us today?
Well, we were left with a million questions, and we've had Dan on our show a couple weeks ago, and then Dan and I did one with the mad painter Thomas Becker, and Dan and I did one with Ken Johnson and Teresa J. Morris, and now we're back here because this subject is humongous, and it's about the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate and what's really going on in our solar system, in our galaxy, and the galaxies beyond. What kind of technologies do we have? We really have. How do we get them from behind the scenes in the hands of these the interplanetary corporate conglomerate that that holds all this information from humanity. I worked with Dr. Arbor DeGray, and he was expressing it in terms of this, that 100,000 people a day die from diseases that are curable, from antiquated technologies that are over 100 years old, and people crash and burn and fall from the sky, and all these things are unnecessary. We have teleportation. We're destroying the planet by using harmful fossil fuels, and it puts chemicals in every level of our environment, and we die from cancers that are created because of this toxic environment. So we're going to be exploring these alternatives and what we can do about it. And on one of the shows, we said, lobby all of your political leaders. Right to your right call, lobby your Congress members, all the way up to the president and all the world leaders and all the corporate leaders, and insist this is our birthright, that these technologies come out in our lifetime. You know, we need it now because we die 100,000 people a day that otherwise could be saved. And then people say, well, what are you going to do with all these people? Well, we already are going to the stars. So we're going to talk about this. Dan, I'm going to bring you on. What would you like to start with? And then Sasha and I, and Thomas, if you want to ask questions too, we're going to keep you busy for the next 2 hours. And then Dan's son is going to call in, I think. So take it away, Dan. Welcome to the show again.
Well, thanks for having me back.
We love having you here. We're having so much fun.
Then you just want me to talk a little bit?
Yeah, just just a flow of consciousness.
Yeah, lobbying.
Yeah, if you want to type in questions, people that are listening.
Lobbying.
Ahmad will go ahead. Your turn. Talk.
Lobbying is not the procedure. It's not the recommended procedure. Contacting your congressman, not the recommended procedure. All that's a waste of time. That's not how it's done.
Okay, how do we do this?
When enough of you in a specific region get together and process an initiative in a state that allows initiatives. So you have to work it in a state that allows initiatives. You have to have enough people in the state to be able to sign the initiative. It's not legal yet to do initiatives online, but I know a procedure, and I'll explain the procedure, how you can do it online. It's possible to do an initiative online first so that you know you have the people, and then there's a way to get them all to sign the formal initiative. It's a process, and there's a way to do it without the $5 million upfront cost. It actually only costs $200 to file an initiative, but it costs $5 million to get the signatures, which is to me a crime. There was a legal case in 2007 where a Chinese firm had written software so that it could be done online and on your cell phone, no less. Beautiful software, absolutely perfect. And then the state of California refused to allow it, and it went all the way through the court, all the way through the appeals court system. I looked at all the legal briefs. They made mistakes. They didn't have good lawyers. But they lost the case on appeal on the basis that the court said, well, you can only get the legislature of the state of California to approve online petition balloting, online initiative, signing a ballot for an initiative, signing a petition online for an initiative. And but there is a way to do it. There is a way to do it in a secondary way, whereas you sign online and then you arrange to get to meet in certain places online, in certain places to go sign it officially, rather than paying a whole bunch of people to go out and meet you out at the Walmarts and the different convenience stores to sit out there all day long. You're paying millions of dollars for people to do it. There's another way to do it. So basically, when enough of you get together in an initiative state, you can get laws on the ballot approved, which require free energy generators to be manufactured. The problem isn't so much inventing them, is that no manufacturer will manufacture them. They've been ordered by the ICC, Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. The secret space program was a military program, and it morphed into and eventually became completely controlled by the corporations that developed the technology. So the corporations basically took over the military program. So that's why we don't call it the secret space program anymore, because that was a military program, and it morphed into.
So how did that happen? Do you know? Do you have any background on how that came about? That it went from the military to.
Well, the corporations are the ones that the corporations were the ones that made the technologies. And so those were the corporations that were always in control of those technologies. The corporations always controlled the secret space program. It's just that eventually they came out of the closet and became the ICC, and formally organized themselves and started calling themselves the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, because that was the corporation that does business with all those 900 different stars, different races. We do commerce with 900 different races. That's what the station out on Mars, the big 12-kilometer diameter space station orbiting Mars in a moon pattern. Not Mars. I'm sorry, Saturn.
Okay.
Saturn is where the space station is, and that's where all the commerce is done. And so the ICC is that's the corporation that does commerce with these 900 different planets. So they had to have an intergalactic corporate name, actually an intergalactic corporate name. So that's the ICC. So they call themselves the ICC. So we don't really call it the secret space program anymore. We call it the ICC, the people who are really in charge, which are the boards of the different aerospace companies, mostly all the high tech companies on Earth. They are the 200 committee members of the ICC. There is an advisory council of 12 people. I think they still call it Majestic. I'm not sure. Some people say yes, some people say no. I don't care. They're an advisory council and they have veto power. But basically, there's 200 people who rule all of that technology, and they suppress it and keep it a secret. So you have a question?
Yeah, we're just getting a little background on, how this is organized. So the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, which is a mouthful. So we're going to call that the ICC.
Everybody says ICC. They don't pronounce the name. They just go ICC,
The ICC. Yeah. So everybody remember that. We're going to be using that through the shows that we're doing here. And they're spread out how far? The solar system, the galaxy?
No, they're in many different galaxies. They control all of the colonies. And then there's the military, which is still under military control, yet all of the military commanders take their orders from the ICC, even though they act like they don't. We still have the United States military, which is basically in control of the military, but the ICC gives them their marching orders, and they do whatever they're told. Otherwise, they don't get promoted if they don't. It's just like Randy. Randy was in Marine Defense. Marine Defense, United States Marine
Kramer. Yeah.
Defense Force, but they answered to the ICC. You know what I mean?
So so we're in many galaxies. Like, are we in the entire universe, or just in
No. It's only no. I have no idea how far they went. I mean,
we don't know. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, they could. I really don't know how far they keep going. They keep exploring. I mean, if you remember, Star Trek was an exploratory ship. Well, we have those still going out as far as they can. They keep going. There is no limit. Billions of galaxies, there is no limit.
Star Trek going intergalactic. I think at the first series they can go past the edge of the galaxy, but by they're going intergalactic now.
In the original Star Trek series, the 1965 series, they did go to more than one galaxy.
All right.
And
because I remember there was some kind of edge of the galaxy.
Voyager was really interesting. Voyager, remember, Voyager was where a ship had got thrown into galaxies that were thousands of light years away. Got thrown into a.
Well, it was in a different. The way they were assembling it, if I remember, and Sasha, we rewatched all these series in the last 10 years or whatever, but they were in a different quadrant of the galaxy. They had divided the galaxy up into quadrants because their concept is the galaxy was so massive. But they weren't using the kind of technologies that the ICC have. They were in looking at Star Trek. Let's go back to the first one and Voyager and Next Generation. What kind of technology do you think? Oh, they were calling it warp drive, and they were calling it what was the name of their come on guys, what's the name of their that stuff they had to use to dilithium crystals or
dilithium crystals.
Dilithium crystals, right. All
the technology is real. It's just that the way it's done is not like that. I mean, a Stargate is real, but it's not a ring. And warp 9.8 is real, but it's not done with dilithium crystals. Okay, I mean it is.
So they
done.
were just trying to fill in the gaps because.
Right. Well, they had to make
they were doing soft disclosure.
They had to make it exotic, and basically they were representing that. Well, it's a technology that's way beyond what you think it would be, And it is. In fact, it is. It does use something else. But then they try to bring it as real as they can in people's realm of understanding of physics, which is very limited. But it's good though because it's most people's level of physics is good enough to understand. A lot of the real technology, which is kind of cool, because we all had to go to school, and the level of education that we had to go through, you have to complete high school in the United States, and that level of education is actually sufficient to explain much of the technology. So it's sufficient for me to be able to relate much of the technology. Certainly, free energy. I have no problem. Everybody's level of education is sufficient to understand free energy technology. Anyway, so. They'll all get together. They have the number of people get together and do the initiative, but it's no good to do an initiative unless you have a number of people who are actually going to make sure it gets enacted into law. But the law itself.
Well, I'm just talking about coming from a grassroots thing. Maybe not so organized at first because it's going to take us a while to get there. We've got to get people. Interested in the subject, aware that this is even possible. We have a huge gap here in knowledge and information, so people who are still in the, kind of like the traditional religious paradigm and the educational system that the government, subjects us to. But you were saying on a private conversation that other countries have far more information than the United States. We're kind of kept in this shield of lack of information. Remember that? Tell me what you were saying about that.
Right, but the reason for that is because the United States had. What happened is a lot of these countries came in and said, "Hey, wait a second, you've heard of the Potsdam Agreement? Potsdam? Okay, at the end of World War II, the United States' allies. Britain, Russia, China, France, they had all signed they signed at the end of the war. They signed an agreement called the Potsdam Agreement, where all of the technologies that were derived or gathered, captured, taken,
right.
Retrieved from the Nazis. All of the technology that retrieved from the Nazis were supposed to be shared with all of the Allies. That was the Potsdam Agreement. Well, the United States.
How are you saying? You're saying Postudom?
Potsdam.
How do you spell it?
Oh, I don't know.
Postudom. How do you spell it? Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
So all technologies. I'll have to look it up. were to be shared.
It was the Potsdam Agreement. I don't remember. Potsdam was
Yeah.
the location they made the agreement. And they all signed the agreement. And so the United States signed the agreement that they would share all the technology they got that they had retrieved through interrogations from the Nazi scientists and the Nazi commanders. They would share that technology with all of the allies. Now, China wasn't involved in the Potsdam Agreement at the time. They weren't involved in it.
Right.
Russia did. Russia was supposed to get all the technology. France was supposed to get all the technology according to the Potsdam Agreement. You should read it. It's a very good read. But the United States violated the agreement. So these countries later, of course, they've recently found out because, Stephen Greer and everybody else is telling them, hey, the Nazis won the war and they had all this technology and they kept it from you. What's going on? And Stephen Greer goes over to France and he talks to, all the ministers over there and says, hey, they violated the Potsdam Agreement. You need to go screaming and saying, hey, what the hey, we want that technology. And they did. The English did. They said, hey, we want that technology. And they all did. So the United States had to make concessions with the Europeans and the Russians.
So what did they?
Well, the concessions are they're allowing them to bring out the first phases of the new technologies, the transitional technologies, the free energy technology. So those countries are getting the technology, but this country isn't. We're being held back on purpose by the ICC as an agreement because they violated the Potsdam Agreement. But wait a second, it wasn't the United States people that benefited from that technology. It was the ICC. None of the people in the United States are benefiting from that technology. So wait a second, we're like, whoa, what? We're being messed with too. We didn't get any of that technology. The ICC did, those corporations did, we didn't. The United States people didn't get that technology.
Right.
Well, we have an objection too, and the way you object is not by lobbying and pleading with your politicians. No, it's change the law yourself. Initiative process. Okay. You can force the manufacture of these devices by making it the law that they have to be used. Well, initially in federal and state governments, that all cars have to be. For example, I'll just give you an idea of a law. All cars, all federal and state. Well, start with the state of California. Let's just state of California. I'm in the state of California. Okay. Let's just say in the state of California, you have an initiative where every single automobile that's used in the state of California by state agency has to be powered by a magnetic energy powered engine or motor. You just make that the law.
Make that the law.
Yeah.
So how do you bring that? That's a big thing because you've got
an initiative. You're asking me how to do the initiative process. That's something I have to teach you. The initiative process. You don't know about the initiative process. You haven't looked it up.
No, we'll look it up and we'll put it up on Aquarian Radio. We're going to start educating people on how to do these.
I don't know how many people. I think it's 250,000 in the state of California in order to get an initiative on the ballot. I think it's 250. I don't know what the number is. Last time I looked it up, it was 250,000 in the state of California. I don't know what it is in Hawaii, but the state of Hawaii doesn't have an initiative process, but a lot of the counties do. Isn't that interesting? So you can do
and I think that's what we did at. We did some kind of thing at the UFO conference with Dr. Michael Sala. Sasha, you were there. There was some kind of initiative, and then the local mayor adopted it or something. Do you remember that? Are you there, honey?
No, I don't remember.
No, you're not there? You don't remember. Anyway, there was some kind of... I'll talk to Dr. Sala about how he did it. And I think that's what Michael Tellinger is saying. We can start with the
Dr. Sala, he's an Australian and a political scientist.
No,
Really?
No, he lives in Hawaii. He lives on the Big Island.
Well, yeah, but he's not a U.S. citizen.
I don't know that.
I thought he was an Australian.
He's been here. No, he was born in Australia, but you can become a citizen.
I don't know. I just know it's not statewide.
I don't know.
There's some counties that have that.
Anyway, we did something on it. It was just I don't know where it went from. We addressed the issue at a conference and wrote something, and then I think he was just trying to educate us on this is a process. But we're not even there yet because we don't have anybody that understands what what the heck we're talking about. We're doing these radio shows. So.
Starts with educating the
about
people.
What's going on.
Starts with educating the people about the reality of free energy. If enough people realize, hey, this is real and I want it, it's real and I want it, and it's being withheld from me, then they will get involved in signing the initiative and demanding that it be released, demanding that it be released first in government buildings and government vehicles, and that's where it starts. That's how you get to do it, not by begging your politicians.
Right. And wouldn't there be some people that would step forward in the car manufacturing business to start manufacturing the vehicles with this free energy magnetism?
Yeah, if you have a law,
and then you can start.
Right. If you have a law that says that the state of California can only use magnetic energy powered vehicles, guess what? You're going to have a manufacturer that's going to step forward and say, hey, I got one of those, because they have to bid on it, remember? You know, they put it out for bid. They don't. The state doesn't manufacture vehicles; it purchases them.
Right.
So it puts it out for bid. And there's no manufacturers that have them. Well, that's kind of dumb, right? Guess who's going to step forward and get the bid? China.
Oh. Okay.
Right.
Well, let's pause right here and ask the Sasha and Thomas if they have any questions or comments.
Well, my comment is it seems that advances in technology need to be balanced by social services that retrain or reorient the people who are displaced.
Well, the discussion in the ICC is what's called a stipend. What do they call it? They didn't call it a stipend. They were going to actually give everybody a base amount of money. Everybody gets a check every month.
Oh, minimum
basic minimum
allowance.
needs economy. Yeah,
what
basic minimum needs economy. We're
no,
calling it the basic.
Dr. Sala called it something. I forgot what he called it.
But we're calling it the basic minimum needs economy. They had a basic minimum wage, but we're talking about meeting basic needs. You know, like housing, food.
Right,
right. Clothing, shelter, basic needs that any human would need, just like you would take care of your baby, right? This whole population, we need basic needs met, no matter if we're a baby or if we're a senior citizen. We need basic needs, but as a birthright. And that goes back to Alex Collier, who addressed this issue with the Andromedans. And they said, well, how can you charge people to live on a planet they didn't choose to be born into? So we're going back to letting people live with dignity, and then people would still work. They would still work for luxuries. And so, you know, if you wanted to have an iPhone, that'd be a luxury. But you might get they call them an Obama phone. Everybody has a basic phone, so you can call 911 or something. So that's a basic need is communications. So we have to relook at our societal structure beyond this level 0 civilization, like how do we meet the needs? And then, you know, what was attractive about what you were saying is that if we get this free energy system out there, you know, energy needs will be down to 0, and then all those energy needs to be met, and then we can go from there. So, okay, so did you get your question answered, Sasha, or addressed? Let's go back to you. What were you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ICC was proposing to cut everybody a check every month.
Yeah, I got it.
They were also going to do debt. They were going to do debt forgiveness. All debts are forgiven. Anybody that has a house now owns that house. All debts were going to be forgiven, and everybody was going to be given a check. Do you know? It's really funny because I talk to the Chinese people regularly, and they brag. They really brag about how good it is in China. I'm amazed. They brag, and it's true. I had to check this out. They brag that 80%, or it's more than that now, that 80% of the Chinese people own their houses. They don't make mortgage payments. Do you know how many people in the United States own their house and don't make mortgage payments? Actually, completely own the house.
No, so, tell us.
It's ridiculous. 35% of the people in the United States own their house but are paying on a mortgage. It's only like, I don't even know the percentage. It's got to be really low. It's maybe like 2%. So here's the Chinese bragging about the fact that more than 80% of the population own their houses outright and don't pay a mortgage.
So we need to change it because this isn't right.
And then I had this one Chinese person that was she was so upset about our Obamacare, really, really upset because it's so atrocious the way they treat people. Oh, it's so bad, And, in China we've had healthcare ever since the early 50s, and the doctors don't treat people like that, and they don't talk to people like that, and they don't deny this and deny that. And oh man, you talk about they think that our healthcare is so bad. It's so atrocious.
I do too.
They can't believe that Americans put up with it. I crack up, I just crack up. It's just so funny to be talking to Chinese people, bragging about how good it is in China. And you have to understand how diametrically opposed that is to the propaganda that you're getting in the United States about what it's like to live in China, or what those poor Chinese are being beat up by their government. No, they're not. They don't have to pay for college. I had to pay for college. I'm still paying for college.
Yeah, so education is a basic human right. I mean, you need to, and then actually it benefits the society. If we just look at it differently, it's like ask backwards right here in the United States. If you have a highly educated society, they're going to be, contributing more. They're not going to sit there, stoned all day and doing nothing. They're going to want to get off their butts and do something, and they'll be smart. They want to do at least something creative. That's what we were talking about in other shows. Like, what will people do if they have all their needs met? What will people do, Dan? If they have their basic needs met? What will people do if they have their basic needs met?
And they have an opportunity to rise mobility-wise. You see, that's also one of the problems is if you don't have upward mobility, if you don't have no potential for upward mobility, which means, you're a really smart person and you can't even go to school. And even if you did go to school, well, because you're a woman, you can't get that job. That's very depressing, and so you'll just sit around and get loaded all day on your government check because there's no upward mobility, there's no opportunity, you have no interest, no ambition. Why? Because you're being blocked. You're not going to get any opportunities, no matter how well you produce or how much education you have. If you have no opportunity to advance or to use that education, you're not going to be interested. Upward mobility.
So we need to change that. We need to change people so that they have some motivation to maximize their development and their ability to contribute, and they have the desire. Like in Star Trek, it was always they would encounter. Occasionally, they would somehow accidentally get somebody from the regular world. Like they beamed an Earthling on, and they saw too much, and it's like, okay, well they're going to go to the what do you call it, the Federation Academy, and they're going to learn how to do this, and they were so excited. It's like, horns were blowing and happy music, and so we're smart.
Right, but it has to be equal opportunity and upward mobility. You can't exclude people because of race or religious proclivity or sexual orientation. When you start doing that, then people become frustrated because they can't. They're not, even if they become educated, they won't be able to apply the education. So it's not a matter of just giving them money.
No.
You have to give them the opportunities. Has to be non-discrimination. Now the laws are getting better, and of course I've been involved. Been practicing law for 20 years, so I've been involved in a lot of the constitutional law cases at a very high level. And so I know, because I read them a lot, I know how society's progressing, and we're doing very well in that regard. Meaning it's happening. We have
women and minorities, and
equality.
We're even redefining what's minorities. White people are going to be minority in the next 20 years.
Well, and that's
here
okay.
in the United States.
That's okay.
That's okay. So what about in space? I mean, you have not only humans, but you have other species, and everybody's equal, right? You have blue people,
and that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem we have about the Super Federation. Remember, the Super Federation are the 60 alien species that rule the galaxy. The biggest problem they have with us is that we're all a bunch of prejudiced bigots and genetic purists, and you can't have someone like that in front of an advanced person from an advanced civilization.
I don't think we would be like that if suddenly we were thrown into a scene in Star Wars, like at the cantina, and we were, teleported in there accidentally, and then we found ourselves there. I think we would get over it in 2 seconds. Don't you?
I don't know. No. People carry over there if they're prejudiced. If they're prejudiced against different races on this planet, they are actually worse when they get in front of aliens.
Okay, so Sasha,
and let me tell you this one, and it's thousands of times worse than you can imagine, because a lot of these aliens are telepathic. They communicate telepathically. So when you think something,
they know what you're thinking. Yeah.
When they think something, they hear it. When you think something, they hear it. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I give you a specific?
Go ahead.
You like specifics.
I do.
I'm sorry, specific experiences. You like specific experiences, and I can give you one.
I like examples.
I had when I was 8 years old.
Okay, go ahead.
When I was 8 years old in North Carolina, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, outside of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in the hills of North Carolina, we were on a Boy Scout camping trip of the weekend, and that evening I went I went away from the camp because I wanted to listen to these different animal species, and the Greys came down to visit me. This really happened. And so the Greys came down in their ship, and two of them came out, one Gray A and a Gray C. I don't know if you know the difference between the Greys.
No, we're going to go over that sometime.
Yeah, okay, neither here or there. But the Gray A is one. He was not just any Gray A. He was a Supreme Commander, and he started communicating with me telepathically. And
what did he say?
I'm this little kid. I'm 8 years old. I'm this little kid, and I'm communicating with this Gray. I see their ship. He's right there standing in the ship. I didn't go up to the ship. I was hiding in the woods nearby, but they knew I was there, and he started talking to me telepathically. So I started talking to him back. And I said, and the first thing I said is, "Oh, you mean that you can hear everything I think?" And he started laughing. He thought that was really funny. And I said, "Oh, I better watch what I'm thinking." It was the very first thing. It was one of the very first things I said in my very first conversations with an alien. Anyway, so he had at the end of the conversation, the end of the visit, these two Greys had visited me. I only talked to the A. The C wasn't allowed to speak. He was just there too.
What is a Gray C? What's a Gray C? What do you mean by Gray C? Is it a different species?
They're just they're servants. They're shorter and they're smaller, and they just do all the tasks. Gray A is
okay. Yeah, I've seen.
Okay, he did the Gray C didn't speak. He was just assisting the commander. Actually, physically assisting the commander. The commander was an old Gray A. Actually, held his hand when they walked down the ramp. Very interesting. Yeah, it was kind of cute. It was really cute. He's this old, not really old and frail, but the Gray C was holding the hand of the Gray A, walking him down the plank. First he went to make sure everything was okay, and then the Gray C went back up the plank, and then he took the hand of the Gray A and walked him out slowly, and he was kind of a little skittish. You could see he wasn't really used to being on Earth, and he was just such a really cool guy, the Gray A, talking to him. But at the end of the conversation, he said, "Well, would you like to come for a ride?" And I go, "What do you mean a ride? Where are we going to go?" And he said, "Well, would you like to, go take a tour around the universe? I think you'd be really amazed." I said, "Universe?" And he goes, "Yeah, the universe. All the galaxies, not just this one." And yeah, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know. My mom told me not to go anywhere with strangers," and he laughed. He thought that was. I meant it to be a joke.
Yeah.
Yes. And he said, don't worry about anything. She won't even know you're gone. And I was like, whoa, obviously he's talking about time travel. Right away I got it. They're talking about time travel, bringing me back to the moment they took me. And they went,
did they tell you why they were selecting you? Why they landed their crowd.
I was in the program.
But you knew that age?
I was in the program. The A knew it. But he didn't. He not only knew that I was in the program, he knew that I was going to become a great warrior.
Okay.
Yeah, you understand.
So he knew who you were. Were you consciously aware that you were in the program, or was that something that?
No. They wipe your. It's crazy because at night they take you. At night they take you and they train you, and then they wipe your memory and return you back during the day, so you go to regular school. So you have no idea. You have no idea. You don't even know you're being trained at night, and you're going to school during the day, and you're getting trained at night. It's exactly like Randy explained it.
I know, and I had the same thing. I've been there, got that T-shirt. I have these experiences, similar but not exact. But they were. I had bleed through. I was like, wait, and then sometimes they would be visible, and I don't know, maybe they were screwing up with me, but I would have bleed through. I would remember things, and I definitely would respond. So I remember I was afraid to get out of my bed to go pee, and I would jump and run, and then I would get almost from the doorway, would just leap back into my bed, because I knew they grab your feet and hands, right? And it's like, no, they're not going to grab me, but I had to pee, so I had to go pee. So I had bleed through. They sometimes showed themselves. I remembered. So did you have bleed through at all during your childhood, or was this recovered after you were out of the program, the 20-back program?
Say the question again. It was really fast.
Did you have any bleed through like I did when you were a child and, getting the nightly mind wipe?
Never.
Okay, so yours was real effective.
We were super soldiers, and the last thing they wanted us to do was to get any bleed through.
All right, so they were really effective with you.
No, I had moments. For example, when I was a freshman in high school at La Puente High School, California, I wanted to attend a typing class, and I signed up for typing class. No, it was my sophomore year. I signed up for typing. And I went to the typing class for the first class, and the teacher met me at the door, and she handed me a note. She said, "You have to go to the principal's office. You're in trouble." I was like, "Okay, well, that's very interesting." So I went to the principal's office. This is a true story. Well, they're all true stories, So I went to the principal's office, and he said, "Well, you're in trouble." I go, "Why? What did I do?" And he said, "Well, only women are allowed in the typing class." And I go, "Well,
oh no."
Yeah, really. This is the way it was. And I said, well, I don't understand. Why is that? And he said, well, because only women are secretaries, and that's a secretarial skill, and men don't do that. Oh, I said, okay, that's very interesting. He said to me, he says, why do you want to learn how to type? Women do that. Men don't do that. And I went, I said I had a vision. You asked about bleed through. This is a bleed through. This is a real incident that actually bled through into reality. Okay, I mean, here I am talking to the principal, telling him I had a vision. I said, well, I had a vision. I had a vision that everybody's going to be typing on these machines. I didn't know they were computers at the time.
Right.
Everybody's going to be typing. All men, everybody's going to be typing on these machines, which are our computers now. We all have these personal computers. That's what I saw in the vision. And I said, and I wanted to kind of get a hedge on that, because everybody's going to be doing it soon. And he said, well, could you? He was very interested. Now he said, now you are an A student. You're like third in five amongst 5,000 students. You're one of our brightest students, and you're a water polo champion. He said, so not only are you one of our top athletes, undefeated water polo player, he said, and one of our top students, he said, I just got to hear, I know you're not making this up. He said, could you please tell me about the vision? And they went, well, yeah, sure. I describe it to you. So I described in detail an IBM computer in detail. Mm-hmm. And he was so blown away. He said that's not a fiction. I have people that I know that told me about that device. That was the 1989. In my vision, I had the vision, I think, in 1964. And that was a computer that came out. That actual computer came out in the public in 1989, the IBM PC. And he said he said he had government contacts, and he said it was real. And I'm going to go ahead and let you into the class. So he went to the teacher, brought her in, actually pulled her into the room, called her into the room. He said, "I'm going to let Dan attend your course. He's a top student and a top water polo player, and he's not there to be hitting on your girls. He had 60 girls in the class, you know."
Right. Yeah.
He's not there to be hitting on your girls, and she was mad. He said, "Hey, I'm the principal. I'm telling you, you're going to let him in the class." And she did. And I was the top student. I was the fastest typist in the class of 60 women. Anyway, true story about the bleed through. Well, I didn't know it was a bleed through.
Well, I had a similar thing. Let me just say mine real quick, and then we'll go to back to. I want to go back to the eight-year-old incident. So I'm a contemporary of yours. I was born in 1954. You were born in what, 51 or something?
53.
So 53. Okay, so we're just a year apart. So when I was in Pittsburgh, Avalon High School, they had computer school. You could go to this tech school. So I signed up for the tech school because I wanted to work on computers. So that was probably age 13. And I get there, and they're doing key punch. And it was a bleed through. And I stuck with it for maybe 2 weeks, and I said, "Oh man, this is the wrong technology. I'm going to come back later." Same thing, like a bleed through. I already knew what we were really using, and I couldn't take it. It was too slow. I can't take this key punch. But I too went to typing, because you didn't have to do typing just because you were a female, right? But I took typing class because there was that awareness that this is going to be very, very important. So it's kind of like that same thing.
Right.
Okay. And then also the other bleed through was when I was about 4.5, 5 years old. We were all watching television, my mother, father, and brother, sister, and these rockets were crashing. And I turned to them, and I was just astonished, and I said, "You mean we're not even in space yet?" And I started bawling. I was so upset because we're, you and I and others like us are experiencing, Star Trek. So when Star Trek finally came when I was 12 in September 1966, I literally, during the commercials, I was doing flips on my bed. I was just bouncing on my bed. I was so excited. It's like, yes, this is what's going on. Yes. That was a program, right? Star Trek was a program to try to activate people.
It was a poll. It was actually more of a poll, and soft disclosure, acclimation. That's what it was. But it was mostly a poll. They were polling to see just how far they had to go to teach the people about these technologies. But really, the biggest concern is prejudice and bigotry, because the more advanced species are all telepathic, and you have to control your thoughts around them. And they just didn't want to they were like afraid to let the people associate with them, because they get really offended when you think badly of them. And they were like,
so back to when you were
like,
aware,
we can't let our people around these aliens, because they'll throw us off their planet, when they find out what our people are really like,
But aren't we being educated with all these science fiction shows that show us interacting with, and it's become commonplace.
You asked me what Star Trek was about. Now? You asked me what Star Trek was about. Star Trek is about trying to get people used to aliens so that they don't think badly of them when they do get in front of them, because it's not taken very well. They become highly offended and very upset.
So it's 60 years later. Is the program working, or is the world getting used to aliens? We have all these things behind us. When I was a child.
No, they're not happy. ICC is not happy with people's progress. They're not happy at all.
Okay, we'll work on that. We can do that. We can work on. I think it's because the shows that are out there are these bang up and let's kill them, and the aliens are going to come eat us. That doesn't help.
Right.
So who's got control of Hollywood? You got to look at that.
Right.
But I wanted to go back.
If your first reaction is you want to shoot the alien when you meet them, well, guess what? You're not going to meet them.
Right. So when you said a very critical thing. You said when you were 8 and you met the alien, and you said, you can hear everything I think, and you said, I better watch what I think. So what happened with that, you learn to watch what you think, right?
You mean with that specific alien, the gray A that I was speaking with telepathically?
Yeah.
No. I was joking. See, he was very jovial. He would joke a lot, so I would joke back because I, trying to get along with the guy. I mean, you're meeting an alien for the first time, and you're 8 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And he's speaking to you telepathically, so you don't want to be offensive. Well, I didn't want to be offensive because I was very excited, to see the ship. And by the way, I did drawings of the ship and everything and the aliens. Because I was a really good artist, and I drew all that stuff up the next day. I did all these drawings. Anyway, neither here or there. So you're asking about the conversation. So I was trying to be very polite, but you don't have control over your thoughts like you have over your words. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. So you were thinking. What were you thinking then? And then what did he do?
Well, I was thinking really good thoughts. I mean, all my thoughts were. He could hear all my thoughts were like, "Wow, these are really cool people," and well, where's their genitals and why are they naked? I mean, they heard all the thoughts. They've heard all those thoughts from humans, over and over again. But he'd chuckle every time I come up with a thought, and I'm realizing he heard that thought. Like, uh-oh. I said, no, that's okay. Yeah, we're naked. Yeah, we don't have genitals. Did you want to know why? Yeah. No. Go ahead. You tell me what, you talk. You tell me, I want to listen to you, I don't want you to listen to me. I'm just a little kid, Yeah.
Okay. So then this is very important. Okay. So you came in and you were not racist and prejudiced against other species. And you weren't even thinking the thoughts.
Well, in the program,
so that tells me that you, as a soul or something,
as a super soldier, I'm in the program. I'm being trained not to be prejudiced. I'm being trained to get ready to go out there and work with aliens.
So and you got into the program when you were like 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah, you're trained. You're trained from the age of 2. I was genetically engineered to be a super soldier. I was trained from the age of 2. So you're trained by your father on this timeline and the instructors meaning in the evening training sessions. You're trained not to be prejudiced. Mm-hmm. You're told not to do that. It's wrong.
Now, Sasha, I know a lot about you because I'm married to you for over 20 years. Well, you were very unprejudiced as a child. And you weren't in any program, but what was your training that you didn't end up being a bigot like most of the world?
Let me go back a few steps because I've been listening to things. The thing that you said in jest or to yourself is actually a very, very powerful thing. I'll watch what I think. I did a whole 2-week meditation watching what I think. It's one of the best ways I know of really detaching. So you might have said it in jest, but it's a really good thing to do. That's one observation I have. The other thing that I want to go back to is how if you have, we're talking about basic means support. If you have the ability to get ahead and be upward mobile, it's got inherent within it, I think, the problem, which is that there's an upward. That's the light of some people is worth more than the light of others. And in my ideal world, upward mobility isn't as important as creativity.
Yeah, but that is upward. In my understanding, that is upward mobility. The opportunity to be able to create.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha. Then that makes total sense. And the reason I wasn't prejudiced is I went through a bunch of things, but I was a Boy Scout, and we had a thing called the Jamboree. I live in Los Angeles, and I love these black kids, and I hung out with them. And then the leader of my Boy Scout pack said the other guys elected me to beat you up for hanging out with those, and he used the N-word. And I started crying. I had all these, but this is a Boy Scout. I quit Boy Scouts and so forth. But I can tell you after that, I went to UCLA, where everybody is at least as smart as I am, and a lot of them are a lot smarter. And you just forget all that crap when you're with really smart people.
Education has its advantage. Upper education has its advantages.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of them.
So I think there's a way we can get past our prejudice, and that is a problem now. And we're all basic generation, and we kind of got over it. We had Martin Luther. We had all the civil rights movement. Now we're kind of going around back to it again. But even my parents got over their prejudice. When they died, they had their best friend was, black, and so I think we can get over it. So what are we doing? And we got like 2 minutes. What are we doing here as a society in this interplanetary corporate conglomerate? What are we doing to get past this racism stuff?
Well, the ICC
kind of thing going on?
The ICC they weren't really concerned. Actually, there was this plan to get rid of everybody, to wipe the Earth of its surface inhabitants, and then the colonists were going to come and repopulate the Earth. That was the plan.
So they're just going to get rid of us all.
That was the ICC's plan for a long time. Like, you're not worth the effort.
And then what happened?
The spirit beings came in, surrounded. The spirit beings came in and said.
Well, we're going to get into that in the second half of the show. But okay, so when were they going to wipe us out? Did they have a time frame? We're going to do it in what year?
Gasoline engines were designed specifically for that purpose, to poison the planet.
To wipe us out.
To poison everybody over a long period of time. To destroy the planet.
Wow.
It was
from the beginning. From the beginning.
Okay, well, hold that thought, everybody. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. You're listening to Sacred Make on Revolution Radio.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
You need some more speed records in this day and age. You need coverage.
Coverage? Oh, you mean them little root weevils that crawl around popping off cameras in your face?
Those root weevils write history.
Many of you know that quote by Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, you can, and Event Horizons will give you those truths. So when you're mad as hell and not going to take it anymore from that memorable CNN network, you'll know just what to do. We will draw you in and become your news addiction at Event Horizons. Join us Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time at freedomslips.com. Revolution Radio. Our world team members are Dennis Fetcho, John Ilias, David Dunger, Halakas MD, Melanie Bridgeton, Jim Mars, Paula Harris, John Trallo, Maria Payan, Christopher Husser, DODDS, Jonathan Orchard, and me, your anchor, Dr. Robin Falco.
If you decide not to volunteer, it will not be held against you in any way.
Sounds dangerous.
It is. Very dangerous.
Count me in.
And that's right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
In breaking news, a visiting Syrian diplomat reported today that their population is evolving rapidly and advancing into a fifth-dimensional consciousness. They are seeking peace with all cosmic cultures, which may mean that the Earth will be asked to join the prestigious Galactic Federation of Light Alliances. Please join Debbie West and Michael Hathaway on Lost Knowledge, Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Studio A, for the latest breaking news on the Star Visitor's peaceful contact and the ongoing project of cleansing the Earth.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the number one listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right, you tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio!
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
Do you or someone you know suffer from poor circulation, shortness of breath, or chest pains? Are you looking for a more natural solution to help overcome these problems? People tell us that after just a few months taking Extendivite, their doctors have noticed unexplainable improvements in their overall health. For more information, visit heartdrop.com or call 1-877-928-8822.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
And tell them Nighthawk sent you, because if you call this number and tell them Nighthawk sent you, you'll get $5 off your first order at extendivite.com. Thank you. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio. I'm your host, Janet Lessin, and we're here with Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin and producer Thomas Becker, and we're talking to Daniel Cooper before we get back to this. I know we left it like a cliffhanger. Here comes this Fury Alliance. So before we get back, I want to remind everybody to please go over and make your donation, your holiday contribution to revolution.radio over there on the donation button on the site. And we really, really appreciate your donation, especially this time of year. And Thomas Becker, how's our fundraising going? Are we getting there?
Yeah, we lack just a little under $400 for this month, which is pretty good for this time of the year, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not in there. I clicked out everything when I messed up there a minute ago.
That's okay. There's no test. It's fine. We're happy with whatever you can let us know. But we do need more donations, and that'll allow us to start 2019 off on the right foot. So, Sasha, Dr. Alex Lessin, what do you want to say about the, what was that called? How they were killing us off, planning on killing us off by all these chemtrails and chemicals and toxins. That's where we left off. What would you like to say about that?
Well, I think I of course want to hear what happens next. I'm still left with some of the ideas of what happens if you build in the idea of upward mobility, and what it really comes down to in anthropology. We think of it as whether you have governance, which is by commission, that is, you do whatever you say you're going to do, and then it expires, versus an office, which is an institutionalization, and ad hoc kind of governance for issues. And when the commission is finished and you've done whatever it is, it expires. And that's part of the interlock that we're trapped in, is these corporations which are presumed to be perpetual, when in reality they could easily be taken down if you have some kind of leveling taxation, for example.
Right. It should be easier to remove people from office, or not have an office that goes on and on so long that it can create damage to a population, to a civilization. So we got to rethink all these government systems. Maybe we can learn from the extraterrestrials, and that could be either later on this show or in the future shows. But we got to go back to where we left off, where this planet's being terraformed. There's a story that the Illuminati, Cabal, rich have been. It's in the plan all along to just destroy this planet, and they're going to go off planet. But that always puzzled me. Like, why are they destroying this planet? And so I thought about the terraforming, that this was like, for me, it's like, well, this is obvious. They're terraforming because this is prime real estate and they want to let somebody else in. So what species were they planning to let take over? Was it the reptilians? We already have reptilians under the earth. What type of environment do they need? I know that on ships they have little mini ecosystems. If you want to talk to each other, you get to be in your own energy field or something of your own environment. So do you have any insights into that, Dan? Who was going to?
Well, the plan was enacted in the 20s, but they were going to use combustion of fossil fuels in order to poison the planet and cause global warming. That was all intended. All the way back in the 20s, they designed that. The ICC designed that, and the intent was to bring the planet to the point where the surface couldn't be lived on, and then all of the billions of people that were going to be here, I don't know if they were thinking 7 billion, but they were thinking in 5 billion numbers, and then all the people were going to be desperate to leave the planet because the planet was could no longer sustain them, and they were all going to die if they didn't leave. And then all the alien species that they sold us to in slavery were going to come and bring their ships here and say, oh, we'll rescue you. And then everybody was going to get on board the ships, and then go off to all these planets and become slaves. So it was going to be a culling. It was actually an intentional culling. It was an agreement that the ICC had made with the Super Federation of Planets in order to cull the planet, basically take everybody as slaves. And then once we were all gone, then they were going to come in and restore the planet because they had the technology to do that. The alien species of the Super Federation, they were going to restore the planet. And then the ICC's colonists, they have 250 million people off the planet, they were going to repopulate the Earth.
That's kind of evil.
It wasn't going to be. It wasn't going to be terraformed for another species, and it wasn't going to be destroyed. It was merely going to be so bad that everybody on the surface is going to please take us. The aliens go, "Oh, we're here to rescue you," and then you get on their ships and you end up on their planets and you're their slaves. And that was how it was going to be.
Yeah, and they actually had a what was it? Rod Serling's show, Twilight Zone, or the other one, Outer Limits, where it's called To Serve
the cookbook.
Humanity,
no,
right?
they're not going.
Yeah,
they weren't going to eat us. They were just going to make us slaves. We were genetically engineered to be slaves. The culling is supposed to come about, I think, in 50 years from now. Where the plan was in 50 years, we were all, the planet was going to be unlivable, and then all these aliens were going to come down and, we'll take you on our planet, and you'll really enjoy it. And the people would have gone there. The people would have gone there, and they would have enjoyed it. It would have been a nice life, but you would have been their slave, their servant.
But aren't we slaves now? We're corporate economic slaves. The illusions that we're free. And
that's part of the economic slave system. Is you're not really stepping out of anything. Your life won't change. It'll be the same. You're still going to be a slave. You're in economic slavery now. It'll be better because you'll live longer. We'll give you good medical. You'll eat better, but you'll still be an economic slave. You still have to do your job. It'll be the same. So the economic slavery is all about preparing you for your slave existence on these other planets.
Well, even the psychology they use on humanity, if you don't work, you're lazy. And they just so it's like it's a self-policing society that binds you to this slavery system. I mean, heaven forbid you're an artist, right? Unless you're a movie star artist, that type of thing. But a regular artist that might go down to the little store and sell their paintings, heaven forbid if you try to make a living, get shamed out of it, and your parents are disappointed that you're not going to college to be a doctor.
They want you to get used to doing menial jobs because that's what you're going to do as a slave on these other planets. Now, it isn't going to be in our lifetime because it's not going to happen for 50. The plan wasn't for it to happen till 50 years from now.
The plan isn't still on, right?
Because these idiots are still on that path. They still are going down that path, even though they still think in their heads, they're going to get out of the outer barrier and somehow they're going to defeat the spear beings. They actually believe this in their minds. They refuse to change this whole thing that they got going. Not going to happen. I've already made major changes on the planet to counter this whole calling.
We'll talk about. Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. I want to go into the dark, the dark.
Well, that is the dark. You're going to be they're not going to eat you. They just want a bunch of servants, slaves, like in the deep south in the United States.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of house slaves, a lot of field slaves, a lot of house slaves, just like that. No different.
Yeah. Yeah. So who are these? They're called what are they called? The 60.
The Super Federation.
This is 60 species, and they're not nice. They're Super Federation,
right.
60 species, and they believe in slavery, and they think slavery is okay.
Yeah, and they already paid. They already, as far as they're concerned, they already paid for the 7 billion people. They already paid for us.
And they paid for us. They already
they genetically engineered us for this thing, and they paid the ICC for us, and they're going to cull us in 50 years. They're going to take us all away.
Oh my God! And even though the Spear Being Alliance came in, so who are these? What type of species are these?
No, I told you the ICC doesn't believe that they're in a pickle.
I know, and neither does Trump. But anyway, history repeats itself over and over. So, they already paid for us. They're entitled to take us. They already have plans for us. So don't they want like a younger population? That's why they they
will get a younger population. Now, you and I will be gone. So what? You know, we were still living in economic slavery. We were still trained to be slaves. We still did the slave thing. It's just your children are just going to do that on a different planet. That's all. They're going to do the same thing you're doing now, just on a different planet.
All right. So then they're going to bring in another population to, and in their mind, they're
going to clean up. Then they're going to restore this planet. They're going to restore this planet with technology. They got the technology to restore this planet. You've heard of restoration reclamators. Reclamator. You've heard of a reclamator. They had that in one of the series.
Reclamator.
Yeah, the Deep Space Nine. They went out and they had all these industrial reclamators where they went in and cleaned up all the soil and everything like that. Anyway, they have these huge giant machines that are going to clean up the planet.
Okay.
They're called reclamators.
Is there a list anywhere of the 60 species that are in the Super Federation?
Corey gave the list, I believe. I don't think.
Anyway, let's find that link.
I believe that Corey gave the full list and Randy gave the partial list. But
Randy said he was out on that super.
I don't know if Corey gave the full list or not. I know he gave most of them.
Okay, we have to find that somewhere. Maybe there's a link or something we could put that on our site. So there's 60 species, and they're all thinking that these human beings are a bunch of slaves. Do we ever get elevated to another status? Do we have to do a certain trick?
No. They genetically engineered us to be their slaves, and they're going to come and cull us in 50 years and go sell us throughout the galaxy. They've already sold us throughout the galaxy. There are a bunch of people waiting for their product to be delivered.
All right, so they don't. There's no way that they're ever going to think we're equal to them. So this is the ultimate bigotry. The 60 species. So what is this thing where? Well, you
have a pet dog in your house, don't you?
Hey, my cat is my.
I'm sorry. You have a pet. You have a pet cat in your house.
I have cats.
Do you?
But I recognize them as.
Okay, well, that is how these people think of us. We are their pets.
All right. Well, it's not so bad for my cat has.
Except they like their pets to do tricks. They like their pets to do tricks.
Okay, so we're just a bunch of pets.
Yes.
And they're going to be nicer to us than they are here.
Just like you're nice to your cat. They're nice to their pets. Just the way you are your kid. You're nice to your cat, and your cat loves you. At least you think it does. Your cat loves you, and it's just like that.
Yeah, we think they love us. Okay, but let me go back to there's a story I heard from somewhere, and I hadn't watched this firsthand, that Corey Good was invited to be. Humanity was going to be invited to be the 61st species in the Super Federation. Is that true?
And they don't like that at all. They don't like the fact that their slaves are now free. The ICC's not going for it. They're not going for it.
Oh, that's because of the Blue Avians that they're going to.
No, you're talking about the Spear Beings. The Spear Beings are not the Super Federation. The Spear Beings Alliance is not the Super Federation. They have nothing to do with the Super Federation. They surrounded our planet. They told the Super Federation, this is how it's going to be. You're not going to use humans for slaves. You're not going to cull them. You're not going to do that. The ICC is not buying it. They think they're actually going to defeat the Spear Beings in battle. They actually
So the 60 species are not going to let us join the Super Federation.
They don't want to. They're giving the Spear Beings lip service, but the outer barrier is real, and they can't get out of it, and they can't get in it, and they will not be able to defeat the Spear Beings. They think they're going to defeat the Spear Beings. They all talk amongst each other. Yeah, we're going to defeat the Spear Beings in battle, and these bad people are going to go away, and we're going to sell, and then we're going to go ahead and deliver our product, all those 7 billion humans in 50 years to the people we've sold them to, the different races throughout the universe that they've sold us off to.
How do the Spear Beings maintain, or what do you know about the physics of the barrier? What can you tell us?
Yes, it's a whole bunch of The 8th force is the highest force there is. It's an energy force, like electricity is an energy force, and magnetic energy is an energy force. The 6th force is an energy force. The 7th force is an energy force. The 8th force is absolutely pure energy of the highest level, and it's hard to describe what it can do. But the point is that that when you make a spear of it, that spear can't be penetrated by anything. There is nothing that can penetrate a spear of the 6th force. Nothing can penetrate it.
Both sides, it's impermeable to both sides.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
You can't get in, you can't get out.
No, nobody can get in a 6th force spear, and nobody can get out if you're pulled in. If they pull you in, you ain't getting out unless they let you out.
So that's the ultimate wall.
It is the
right?
It is the ultimate power in the universe, and there's only a handful of species that have it, and they got together and made an alliance. And they control the 8th force. Anybody who starts developing the 8th force, they show up, and they say, no, you don't get to do that. No. Okay. So
the sphere being alliances came in.
And they surrounded our solar system with 8th force spears. And the spears can connect a wave of 8th force energy between them. So we have a whole bunch of 8th force spears the size of different planets, huge spears. You can't see them. It's invisible energy. And our whole solar system is surrounded with these spears that are connected together. They connect each other like with a web of 8th force energy, and then that created a whole barrier of 8th force energy around our solar system that nothing can penetrate. Nothing can get out. Nothing can get through.
Can the energy that is being exhibited there leave some trace on our equipment so that we can study it?
Well, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate has been doing that ever since 1989. Ever since the first spears appeared in our solar system, they've been studying it.
So that was in 1989.
1989 when the first spears came in.
So what do we learn about?
What happened that they appeared?
They haven't learned anything. The only person that's closest to understanding anything about the 8th force is Marilyn Hewson's Skunkworks team that developed 8th force. She worked on the 8th force, so she knows what it is. She knows how to make it. She knows how to make a small spear. It won't last long. She hasn't figured out how to make it last long, but she has actually made an 8th force spear in her lab. I know what the 8th force is, and I know how to make it. But it makes no difference when you have 5 planets. 5 planets full of beings that mastered the 8th force, and you're just beginning at it, and they come in and say, no, you can't do that. Well, no, you can't do that. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make any difference if Marilyn knows about the 8th force and can even make it. She still won't be able to figure out how to defeat the spear beings. Not possible. Can't be done. And the inner Earth beings explained this to her. They said, look, guys, they're called the Guardians. They call them the Guardians. They said they had this planet surrounded before with that barrier, and these other people were able to take it. These other people were able to take it down, but they lost their planet in the process. What was that? The planet? Yeah, really. And everybody on it. They blew themselves up.
What planet was that? Was that Maldek? Was that
yes. They blew themselves up. They blew themselves up, taking down the barrier.
Okay.
And destroyed all their people.
Who was putting in the 8th force? Who was putting in the barrier when the Maldekians blew up? I don't
know the history of who put up the barrier. The story is, as I've heard it, is that the reason the barrier was put up by the Guardians was to protect access to the galaxy-to-galaxy gate, which is on Ganymede. And by the way, Ganymede is a satellite. It's a ship. It's a giant ship. Just like our moon is a ship. There are 3 satellites that are moons in our solar system. Our moon, Ganymede, and I don't know the third. But Ganymede, the moon itself, powers that gate.
Okay, so
it's a giant ship that powers that gate from galaxy to galaxy, and so the spear beings had previously put up a barrier around our solar system to protect access to that gate. They didn't want people jumping from galaxy to galaxy. Apparently, there was some bad people that were jumping from galaxy to galaxy doing bad things, and they had put this solar system on lockdown then. For that reason.
That story, it was repeated by Errol the Grey, the one that was captured in Roswell, and she said that this is a prison planet, a prison system, and that all the people that are the undesirables of existence get sent over here, and that so this correlates with what she said, and you can find that story in Alien Interview by Lawrence Spencer, and it's also a series of YouTube. So this correlates.
No. It's more about the galaxy to galaxy gate. Sorry.
Well, anyway, that's the story worth looking at because apparently this is bad. Like you're saying, this has been quarantined before, and now it's quarantined again
because of the gate.
Because the gate
goes from galaxy to galaxy.
So these people that are outside the solar
bad people
system
going from
now,
galaxy to galaxy
that were there before the gate come in. Yeah. So the gate, this eighth force came in 1989, and didn't we already have people living beyond the solar system? We still have them.
Oh, we still have all of our assets, meaning Darkfleet, and a lot of other of our ships are outside the barrier and can't get back in. But the most important thing is that almost everybody in the ICC command level, they're all inside this solar system and they can't get out.
Okay, they can't get out.
No.
Some of the people can't get in. Can they communicate still?
Yes, they let them communicate. They turn off their communications, but then they turn it back on. They said, well, you can go ahead and talk to your people. It won't do you any good because you can't get back. They're not going to help you.
So what do they want to pull this eighth energy force down? What do they want us to do to satisfy? They want us to arrest everybody and lock them up like they've been saying, and everybody arrest all.
You mean what were their demands?
What are their demands?
Their demands is that humanity be nobody can come in and take us off the planet anymore. We can't be culled. We can't be culled. They have demanded the release of the technology and the cleaning up and restoration of the planet. But the ICC is like, well, yeah, sure, we'll do that on a timeline, that we select, and we can't really do that really fast because people just can't handle it. Give them all the excuses. The spirit beings listen to all their excuses.
And so, who are the spirit beings? Can you describe what do they look like?
We only know three. We only know 3 of the 5. Corey says he's met the other 2. Whatever. He won't tell us. He says that he's not supposed to tell us. Whatever.
There's 5 species in the spirit.
There's 5 species. Yes, 5. The Blue Avians, the triangle, golden triangle heads, and the spirit beings themselves, which is a spear of energy the size of your fist.
I
think it's basically that's their energy. They have an energy form that's a spear. So those are the spear being alliance. Maybe the spear beings lead the alliance. I don't know. We don't know too much about it. Corey gives you all the information. The only thing that's incorrect that Corey gives you is that he was the one that was selected by them to represent humanity. That's the only piece of information that I've seen Corey give that I would say is not true.
And how do you know that's true or not true?
Because the first time Corey spoke about what they thought about him is he had asked if he had actually, at the very first time he started talking about the spirit beings, he had already asked that question, well, what was his role going to be? And they told him that it wasn't going to be very high because he had committed crimes against humanity. And so all he could do was be their speaker, to pass the message along that they gave him. They weren't going to let him have any position of authority because he had participated in so many crimes against humanity himself. That's what they originally told him, and that hasn't changed.
And so what do they consider crimes against humanity? Do they have a list of those things that...
Anybody that participated in this whole plan to sell off humanity, anybody that went along with the Dracos and killed a bunch of people in order to take over their planets, crimes not only against humanity itself, but also crimes against other races, which we did.
All right.
And are still doing. You know.
Right.
ICC are a bunch of wackos. What can I tell you?
So have you done crimes against humanity because you were participating in their definition?
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking.
I said no. I'm asking you, and then I want Sasha to interject. Since you participated in these battles, and anybody in the secret space program, they're slaves, and they get pulled in, and they end up participating in the battles and killing and being killed. But is there a way? I guess if you're really not going to do crimes against humanity and you're abducted into these things, you just refuse to fight, right? Is that the only way you avoid participating in crimes against humanity? Is just to not fight?
Well, you can basically, when I first got pulled in at 17 and a half, it was about 6 months into my service on ship. That's when I started meeting Draco commanders, and we went to this. I'm just giving you a specific experience, and we went to this planet, and we fought this specific group of warriors, and it was a whole village of them, a whole town of them that we had surrounded, and then we had fought them all and defeated them all, and we came down to about there were 20 left that had surrendered. And the Draco commander, he said, well, now I want you to execute them. And I said, well, I don't do that. Get somebody else. You want somebody, you need an executioner for that. I don't do that. I fight warriors. I fight people who are warriors that are going to fight. I don't do that. You want to execute people, you do that on your own. And then I was brought before for that insubordinate act, refusing to kill. I was brought before a tribunal of 3 commanding officers, 1 Draco commander and 2 United States Air Force generals. And it was a court-martial, and I was brought in there. And when I walked into the room, my Japanese martial arts instructor, my kendo master instructor, one of the instructors who taught me how to fight with a sword, he came to the room and he put down a white cloth in front of me and a seppuku sword, which is a small, short steel sword with a white handle. And of course, you know what that means. It basically means you're gonna commit suicide. But nobody said anything, and then everything was quiet for a little while. The 3 officers were seated on the other side of the room, and I had guards around me with drawn laser swords, and then my instructor, he said, my Japanese instructor, the sword master, he basically said, well, you have 2 choices. You have to either commit suicide, the ritual way, that we taught you, or you have to, from this moment on, follow orders without question. And you have to make that decision. And I said, well, can I take a moment to think about it? And he said, oh yeah, sure. And the 3 commanders that were in, this is a court martial, mind you. You're already guilty when you walk in the room. There's no court martial.
Right.
And right. the three commanders, they balked, and they instructed the 2 guards that had drawn swords over me to kill me. And the Japanese master, he said, no, don't do that. You said it was my decision, and it is my decision. Are you taking decision authority away from me? And he's in this matter, and they said no. They apologized, because he was a very great swordsman, very great instructor, this Japanese sword fighter. And so I was allowed to meditate on whether or not I was going to do one or the other. So I closed my eyes and went into deep meditation. They said later that I was gone for a half an hour. It just seemed like a minute. It just seemed like a minute to me, but I had meditated. You're going to die at this moment, so I mean, for real. Right. You're not in battle, and there's a chance you may die. You are definitely going to die. You have a So when I meditated, I actually time traveled into the future, and I saw myself doing what I'm doing now.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I realized that it was imperative for me to go ahead and do the 20-year service and follow orders and kill lots of people, so that I could come back and do this. So then I came back conscious. I had a stupid smile on my face, and the Japanese, my Japanese sensei instructor, the teacher, he said, "So what's your decision, Mr. Cooper?" Cooper-san, they don't call you Mr. Cooper. And I said, "Oh, I'm going to follow orders." I have a stupid smile on my face. Yeah. And the three generals, the Draco general, and the 2 Air Force generals. I was in the Air Force, and they, United States Air Force, and they said, kill him. And the Japanese instructor said, "You said the decision was mine." He said he's going to follow orders. This is one of our very best that we've ever seen come through the program. He says he's going to follow orders. I believe him. And it's my decision. You said it was my decision, and it's my decision not to kill him. No, we want you to kill him. And they went off on that for a while. And then when the generals left the room, the Japanese instructor came up to me and he said, "You were gone for a half an hour. Where'd you go?" And I said, "Well, I traveled into the future." He said, "What'd you see?" And I said, "Well, I can't tell you that." And he laughed, and I laughed, and we went out to dinner, and that was it. So, yeah, I spent 20 years killing people for the Draco.
Wow. So technically, you've committed crimes against humanity. But
your initial question was, do you have the option to commit suicide? Oh, yeah, they always give you the option.
Right, but you chose that. But what I'm getting at is like this, and I lost the thread. They're angry that humanity committed crimes against the world or the
humanity. They were going to sell us all. They were going to sell us all. They sold us all off as slaves. They already took the money, and we've been working with the Draco, committing crimes against other races all throughout this galaxy and others. So they weren't too happy with the direction humanity was going.
Right, because they participated, and whether it was blackmail or coercion, they participated in these crimes against other species and killed people. Now that's part of our quarantine. If I'm getting this right, let me know.
You asked me what crimes we committed.
Right, and that's a sample of crimes. Now I'm asking how we can become the 61st species of the Super Federation if we, confess and we're given an alternative of what we can do from here on out, so we would be worthy. But we don't want to be the 61 species of the Super Federation because they believe in slavery. Is there another option? Do we have to participate in these?
Actually, it's a great honor to become the 61st because there are 3,000. Out of the 3,000 species, only 60 have ever attained that position to get on the Super Federation. To be the 61st species on the Super Federation is a great honor. It gives us a lot of control over the future of all the species in our galaxy. We can change that now.
Right.
But it's not going to be with the ICC. It's not going to be with the. It's not going to be with the ICC leadership. Not with people like that.
Right.
That's got to change. And that's what they told Corey. They said, "Corey, I'm so sorry. You went out and you killed a bunch of people, and you're not going to be given that position. That position is not for you." And the Chinese said the same thing. We're not going to let Corey take that position. He's not representing us. Russians said the same thing. He doesn't represent us.
Who would qualify in that? If those are the qualifications,
I have no idea who's going to be the person or the group of 3 or whatever that's going to take that. I have no idea, but it ain't going to be Corey.
But would it have been somebody like Princess Diana? Somebody who's
Corey claims that killed anybody? Corey claims the spirit beings are going to select the person. I don't know.
Okay. Sasha, any comments?
The Dalai Lama.
Okay. Dalai Lama?
Hey, that's my choice. That's my choice.
Okay, we'll Listeners,
he's got my
send
vote.
us your ideas of who is qualified to be.
Personally, and I know this is really bizarre, but a lot of planets are controlled by women. The races inside of our planet, the inner Earth beings, are controlled by women. I think it should be a woman that is highly respected in the major countries in the world, not just the United States.
Right, not just the United States. Right.
Right. It would definitely have to be somebody the Chinese would accept, and I think it should be a woman because most of the advanced species we deal with are ruled by women.
Okay. And that's what I've heard as well, that women initially had a greater role in space, especially, but here we're second-class citizens. We're lucky to get a good paying job. Okay. Sasha, what would you like to ask?
Well, it's interesting when I've done hypnotic regressions with people, and many people. There's no lingering karma if it's truly battle and you kill other people, and it feels really different than massacre or execution. So I know exactly what you're saying because it's so different. It's totally different. So that's a part of therapy is called identification with the aggressor, to realize that you or your ancestors or some fractal within you, of course, has done all the junk things as well as the blessed things that humanity, you've done it all, you are it all. And so so that you don't have to be distant from anyone. And the key, I think, is what Janet said is, okay, just talk about the truth and no punishment. Punishment sends these endless lines of retaliation. That's just the essence of stupidity. And the suppression of the female, of course, is the problem. We need to have the empathy for humanity that's built into a different hormonal system of the female, but it's all there for us too. Basically, it's the message of universal empathy. Feel other people, and it's right there, and that automatically creates equality of a person being worthy of your attention and affection. That it's so easy once you realize our oneness with everybody and everything. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I want a woman to be president of the United States. I want a woman to be governor of California, and I want a woman to lead the to take our seat on the Federation, Super Federation. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see happen in the next few years.
Candidates. Who do you consider right now?
Oh no, I don't follow that. I don't follow the politics. I'm inventing all the time. My head is so far into the books. It's crazy.
You haven't met her yet. Okay.
Haven't met her yet. She's not even out there. I'm thinking of Marianne Williamson. She's pretty pure, and she's been leading New Thought and Consciousness for 30, 40 years now. So. I don't think it's Oprah. I think Oprah's been too much into money. But someone that's really not guided by money, but they're guided by their heart. And, Diana in a different generation would have been ideal. She seemed to be pretty pure. But someone that's doing that type of activity, already consciously doing it to, go beyond money and, Anyway, that's my thought, but I don't have a candidate either. That's what I'm thinking. But maybe people in the audience can send me an email and QuarianRadio@gmail about who you think would be the women that would take these leadership roles. Because I do think that we need to balance, not that we want to go and make a matriarchy and then make it better than the patriarchy. I don't think that's it. I think we need partnership. And part of it is because our planet is so imbalanced from so many years of patriarchy. We need to balance it with. I would like to see 50% of any kind of organization having women, in leadership roles. So up to the Congress and down to the corporate level, and governance of towns and cities. maybe for a while a 50% female and male requirement until we balance things. That's one of the ideas I have. Okay, so we're running out of time. We have about 12 minutes, and so you have this invention. Let's focus on that. So you came back, and now you're inventing, and something happened that you're allowed to invent. Can you tell our people what happened because they don't let you invent things, especially free energy systems, and get them out to the world? Can you give us a little bit of background on the politics of how politically you're going to get this out into the world based on this universal politics?
Well, I'm patenting free energy generators, components too. I'm patenting them, and then that's intellectual property rights. And then I can make sure that those intellectual property rights, and I continue to. I patent a lot. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I can patent 1 to 2 a month, and that. I mean, I'm like Nikola Tesla when it comes to patenting. I can really do it very quickly, and a lot of them. And I'm picking up speed and capabilities in that regard. So within the next few years, I'll be patenting quite a few patents, and there'll be tighter patents and better patents. And I'll get connected up with the right groups that will actually manufacture those properties, those intellectual properties. So that's my particular job. That's the particular calling, or so to speak, that I am involved in doing at this stage, is to bring out the technology by actually patenting it and make it into intellectual property, not open sourcing it. The problem with open sourcing something is that, well, then nobody can manufacture it. Nobody wants to manufacture it because you can't make any money from it. And if you open source something, anybody can actually patent it. If you open source something, and I get it, I can patent it within 1 year, and I own the patent for 20 years. And there are people in the United States who actually do that. If you open source something, it gets patented by someone in the ICC, and then of course, and then it's hidden for 20 years, and it can't be manufactured because they won't let it get patented. Right. So it's important to get those intellectual properties under my ownership and control, and then to get them into the hands of the people who will actually manufacture them. And one of the I had to create competition first. That's why I built up China. I had to create competition first, because if there's no competition, well, there's no buyer. If the ICC is the only game in town, the only buyer in town, and they don't want that technology out, well, then it doesn't make any difference how many patents you make. There's not. Right. Yeah. So you have to find out, well, who, what is that? My friend is your enemy is my friend, or your
friend of my friend, enemy of my enemy is
okay.
My
so
friend.
I built up China, knowing that the United States had cheated China out of their share of the technologies. And then China said that, wait a second, you were supposed to give us these technologies. And no, you weren't a signatory to the Potsdam Agreement. And they said, well, yes, we should have been, and so you cheated us then too, and you owe us all this technology. And so they're very upset, and they are very open to receiving this technology and manufacturing this technology. They are doing it now. In fact, they're the ones that brought about one of the major players in bringing about NASA's peer review of the M drive, because in September of 2016, it wasn't 2014, I was wrong. In September of 2016, they flew the M drive in space. The Chinese did. They said, well, wait a second, if you're not going to make it, well, I don't care if Shire has a patent on it. I'm going to make it. So the Chinese are getting a little upset with the fact that the U.S. is continually withholding technologies that they were supposed to give to them under the Potsdam Agreement. So I built up China specifically to be able to bring up that technology. If the United States don't want to bring it out, China will. And to ensure that, I am solidifying those intellectual properties. Go ahead, Sasha. I'm sorry.
You're totally right. The Russians and the Chinese fought against the Japanese and Germans on our side, and their point is really valid historically.
Right.
So how did you empower?
It doesn't work unless you build them up which is why I came up with a strategy to convince them to do business and then to teach them how to do business. The business plan that China used to defeat the United States in business is my business plan. I taught that to them.
And how did that come about that you were in a position to teach China that this business?
They got wind of the. I mean, I had discussions with different my political science instructors, and they said, what's your ideas about what you would do to change the world? And I said, well, you got to teach China business, and if you do that, then they'll have the money, and they'll be able to bring out the technology, and in order to get rid of oil. And they all agreed with me, and so they brought the Chinese finance minister to me, who was the only one in China at the time who believed in doing business, and they brought him to me to teach him how to do business. And so the first thing he said, that was in December of 1985 in the Dr. Stephen Thomas's class, Russian Studies, his master course in Russian Studies, and December of 1985. So we're in the class, and he brings us. It was really funny. At the syllabus said a Chinese bureaucrat was going to give a lecture. This is the finance minister of China. First thing he says, I'm the Chinese finance minister of China. I was stunned. I am the finance minister of China. I rule the Bank of China.
Wow.
I am the most influential person on the Central Committee. I rule 1 million people. This is how he started his lecture. I was so stunned. I couldn't believe it. I looked at my instructor I smiled at him because I knew damn well why he brought him into the class. Because he wanted me to teach him how to do business. He wanted me to convince him to do business. So after about 20 minutes, I raised my hand. He said, you opened up for questions. This is a 3-hour course, by the way. After 20 minutes, he opened up for questions. He started out and said, he explained what they were doing. He had a whole contingent all throughout the United States. There was a whole group of them, I think maybe about 50 people in his group that were there to study business throughout the United States. And he said that they came there because the Central Committee there was an issue before the Central Committee. They were trying to decide whether or not they wanted to do business or not. That was what they were doing there. That whole contingent was there to study business, to decide. So they wanted to study the question, and they came over here to do that. The United States brought them over to do that. Of course, they're going to let them come over. They were very poor at the time. This was a very poor country at the time. I don't remember if you knew what they were very, very poor in 1985. Their personal income has increased 1,000% from 1985 to today. Everybody's personal income. You have to put that together in your head and realize, if all of a sudden you got a salary increase from 1985 to today of 1,000%, think about that, Sasha. Would you like your government? Would you be fond of your government? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You would worship the ground they walked on. And that is how the people think of Xi Jinping. They worship the ground he walks on. Anyway, so there we are in 1985. This guy's sitting there saying, and he gives his lecture, and I raised my hand and said, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do business. I mean, I was stunned. I mean, I thought it was obvious, this was the solution, but it wasn't an obvious solution. And I said, well, out of the Central Committee, 25 members of the Central Committee, they rule China. And out of the Central Committee, I said, how many of them are interested in doing business? He said, well, there's only one, and it's me. And I was stunned. I was going, what are you doing here? And he said, well, I'm trying to figure out how to convince the others to do this. And I go, okay. So it's more about convincing you why you should do business as opposed to teaching you how to do business. He said, no, I want to know both, And so for 2.5 hours, I lectured him. At the end of the 2.5 hours, I lectured him on how to teach the Central Committee why they should do business. It's a long discussion. It would take me 2.5 hours just to go over the details. Right. And I had to teach him. And then I had to teach him how to do business and come up with a strategic business plan. He was like a little kid. He was so excited. At the end of the lecture, the 4 CIA agents that that were his guards, he actually said at the end of the meeting, he said, "Oh, they're going to kill you for this, Dan." I go, he didn't know I was Dan. He said, "They're going to kill you." He didn't know who I was, and I said, "Well, they're going to try." I said, "But they're not going to succeed because I fight back." And he laughed, he smiled, he thought that was so cool. And there were 4 CIA agents that had actually approached me right after the meeting, and I laughed. I mean, I was at the top of my form. I'm a very dangerous martial artist, even in this timeline. And at that time, I was the strongest I'd ever been in my life. And I just laughed at these 4 guys. I said, "You do realize that if you attack me, you're all gone, right?" And I said, "So, does your commander wish you to die today?" And they called back their commander, and he said, "No, don't do it here. Don't do it now." Anyway, I've had a few fights over that. Real battles where I had to really engage with real fighters many times since that period. Anyway, neither here nor there. He was right. They were going to try to kill me, and they didn't succeed. I was right. But he at the end of the period, he said, no one has ever talked to me like that. He must have been a big wig all his whole life. No one has ever talked to me like that. I said, "Do I need to apologize?" He said, "Oh, no, not at all." But every single suggestion that I made, every advice that I gave him, they did it, and it worked, every bit of it.
Wow. And Dan, I hate to interrupt you, but we are running out of time. We have about 30 seconds. We're going to have to do another show. Remind me where we stopped. What would you like to tell our listeners before we sign off? Oh, we're out of time anyway. Just say goodbye.
Bye.
We'll do this again.
Okay.
Aloha, love, and blessings. We'll tune in. We'll have Dan back again. Send me your questions at BurringRadio@gmail.com.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at higher risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we are listener-sponsored and commercial-free. But there still are bills to pay. In order to raise some needed funds to cover the cost, our station is offering a silver special. In the continental United States for a $60 donation, or in Alaska, Hawaii, or Canada for a $70 donation, we will send you an uncirculated 2018 1-ounce pure silver Eagle. The $70 donation, the extra 10 is to cover shipping, by the way, outside of the continental United States. When making the donation, you must put Silver Eagle promo in the notes on the donation. And thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at revolution.radio and freedomslips.com. Without you, there is no us. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Take a look around, kid. What do you see? Homes being foreclosed. People working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table and still drowning in debt. Don't get me wrong. This country is founded on great ideals and principles. They've all been ruined by the banks. Open your eyes to the banks that are robbing you. You know who my favorite president was? Who? Thomas Jefferson. Because he saw all of this coming and tried to stop it. He fought the banks. JFK too, and they killed him for it. The banking institution is more dangerous than an army, he said. He also said that every generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war.